Zion. In this week's parasha, chapter Ches. Chapter Ches, Pasuk Yud Beit. Pasuk Yud Beit. But this is the third of the Esher Makos. We've already had the Makos Hadam, and we had the Makos Tzfardim, the Makos of the frogs. And now we come to the third Makos, which we're going to see what it is and see what it's all about as we go along. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Emor el Aaron, Natei es matcho, v'hach es safah ha'oretz. Let's lift up your staff and give a blow and literally smite the dust of the earth, afar ha'oretz. V'hoyo lechinim b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. And that will cause that there will be, very hard to translate it, lice or small bugs, vermin, itching small bugs that get into people in their clothes and in their bodies. That's called kinim. I suppose you call it lice. The whole eretz Mitzrayim. So Rashi says, why is this? Why did Moshe say to Aaron to do this? Why didn't he do it himself? So Rashi says that since this was hitting the dust, there was some sort of blow was given to the dust, then that wouldn't be right from Moshe Rabbeinu, because the dust helped Moshe Rabbeinu earlier in the piece when he killed the Mitzri. When Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Mitzri that was interfering with another Yid, we saw in last week's parish. So therefore the hitting of the earth, or the dust of the earth, was given precisely to Aaron. Vayasu chen, and they smote the Aretz. In other words, Vayasu chen is referring to both of them. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do anything really. We have to assume that Vayasu chen means that Moshe Rabbeinu carried out at least the task of talking and instructing Aaron what he had to do. Vayet Aaron es yodei b'mateu, and Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff. Vayach es afar ha'oretz, and he smote the dust of the earth. Vatihi hakinom. Now we notice it's another usage of the word. Instead of chinim, it becomes kinom. Ba'odam uvabheima kol afar ha'oretz hoyo kinim. B'chol eretz mit. So some of the great Meforshim explain. It's also maybe well, not in Rashi in front of us anyway, but it's that the word kinom is a general noun referring to this type of bugs and lice. Kinom is a sort of a absolute noun for the species. The ilu kinim is like talking in a plural of, you refer to all sorts of different individual little creatures. They're called kinim. But the actual species as a whole could include all sorts of different individual types. That's called kinom. So we see here a repetition of the fact that it happened from the earth, that he smote the earth or the dust, and it turned into this species of lice and vermin and bugs, and it came into the humans, into the animals, and also kol afar ha'oretz hoyochinim, all the dust of the earth in Mitzrayim, in other words, what you might call the whole surface of the earth, became these bugs and lice, b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. That's pretty powerful business. And it's even brought down in certain Midrash Chazal that they were several feet thick. That there was mamish, many, many thousands and millions of them, and they all just built up like a huge, heavy carpet all over the whole Eretz Mitzrayim. You look as if you're sitting in some sort of drawing room meeting or something. Sit up, lay back like that. There's an old saying, Benegir to the way a person gets up in the morning. You ever heard of it? So they say, if you go to sleep like a horse, then you get up like one. It's an old saying in Yiddish. So if you start off the shear like a fair, that's the way it goes. If you start off into it, and there's hope. Praise Hashem. So we see that the whole of the Afar HaOretz, yards high, became completely covered with these lights. Vayasu chein chatumim. This time it is called the chatumim, just the magicians or the sorcerers of whoever they were. And in the first makkah, the dam, they were called chatumei Mitzrayim, or they were called chatumei Paroi, the royal sorcerers, or the big, well-known sorcerers of Egypt. And here they're just called, ha-chatumim. They're given a less dignified title. And they did it beloteihem lohoichi esakinim. They did also, and that's a very deceiving expression, they did also, or they did similarly, these chatumim, with their lateihem. Rashi already told us earlier that lateihem is from a Lashon to sort of whisper, and they used to say all sorts of whispering formulas and so on. To bring out the kinim, and they couldn't achieve it, they couldn't manage it. Kinim kinom ba'odom uva Emor. So the chatumim made up with their first massive failure, because in the case of the sign, it wasn't a makkah, but the first sign where Moshe Bennett turned the staff into a snake, and then it swallowed all the other snakes and so on. Over there, they had considerable success. They also made snakes. And then in the case of the dam, they also managed to do it. In the case of the tzfadiyim, they also played a certain role. They brought the tzfadiyim up, etc. But we'll soon see maybe a significant difference, but nonetheless they did. This time, they couldn't manage. They weren't able to achieve anything. And therefore the kinam went into everybody by Adam of Abhema. And it's interesting, there's an amazing medrash brought down by certain authorities. What do they want to say? It was even by the Yidden. It was everywhere. And the difference was that by the Yidden they had these kinim creeping all around, but they were quite happy. They never felt nothing bit anybody. Nobody had any trouble from it whatsoever. But by the Mitzrayim, it ate pieces out of them. These were all sorts of kinim, as we said, all sorts of mixture of all possible bugs And they really caused a lot of trouble to the Mitzrayim. Ayemru Achatumim El Paroi, and the Chatumim said to Paroi, Etzba Elohim He, or Etzba Elohim He, this is the finger of the Eibishter. That's what they said to him. The Chatumim themselves, they were moided at this time. It's an under ball game. However, the Eibishter, or Paroi rather, not the Eibishter, Paroi strengthened his heart, and he didn't listen to him. Kasher diber Hashem. That's the whole makkah of Kinnim, the whole makkah of lights. So let's take a look in Rashi, and Rashi says, after what I quoted, that he didn't give it to Moshe, only to Aaron, to smite the dust. Vatihi hakinom, so Rashi harachisho, something or other in Old French. So Rashi said, why is it used here, a general name? Like we said, hakinom is like a general noun, species name for all these type of things. And therefore Rashi says that's a word meaning creeping. Yeah, Rechisha is a noun in Lashon Kodesh meaning creepers or creeping. And therefore these kinim, or this kinom, is a general species word for all sorts of creeping creatures. But with that, Rashi is hinting that it wasn't just any specific type of bug, it was all types of bugs. And therefore, there's another medrash quoted. It's not a medrash Rabbah. I think it's from the Mishnah's Rabbi Eliezer Godel. It's not the Pirkei Rebbe. It's another medrash from him. And he reckons out about 15 or 16 different names of all sorts of amazing bugs or lice. And he said they're all included in this general name, kinom. The general term kinom, not chinom, don't get it mixed up, not kinom. All included in the general name. And Rashi says that's the general word, rechisha. It just means a creep. In other words, you might say it was one big creep, and it included all sorts of amazing different types. So then goes on Rashi, L'hoitzi es akinim, they tried with their latayim to bring out the kinim. Says Rashi, livroisom mimakom acher. They tried to create them mimakom acher. Now the word livroisom is a very surprising word, because that means to create. Livroisom. And we know the Bereshis bara Elokim at the beginning of Bereshis, and we've been taught and it's brought down in Siddur that the word bara means to create yesh mi'ai. The etzem meaning of bara means creating something from a previous state of ayin or naught. So if Rashi says that these guys were trying to create them mimakim acher, from another place, not from the dust. In other words, you might say that the dust was already busy. In other words, that Aaron already got the dust busy producing what he had on the card table, which was all these trillions of kinim that were causing a huge carpet all over the ground. So they wanted to do something, and they couldn't create it from the dust because the dust was already tremendously and immensely busy and it didn't exist anymore. So they had to try and create a mimakim acher. But that would tend to indicate that they were trying to create them. I mean, that's a very extreme expression. And they couldn't. Says Rashi, why? She'ein hashin daled, and it means a sorceress demon here, Shin David. Shoilet alberia pachusa mikisa'ira. He said, because a Shindalad is not able to have any control over a creature which has a size less than the size of a how do you call it, oat. What do you call it? Not oat.
Barley.
Barley. I'm sorry, barley. Yeah. I'm getting mixed up with barley oats. Yeah. Yeah, the size of a barley. In other words, it since all these bugs, no matter how big they were or how terrible they were in their biting powers, none of them were bigger than a Kesaira. So therefore, these guys had no ability to have any shlita over them because they were working with Shindaleds. And since they were working with Shindaleds, they had no control over these creatures. That demands a Kesaira is a shiur which is brought in reference to Tumah and Tumas Meis and other inyonim in the Gemara, and as far as I can understand, it's about in length, it's about something like 6 millimeters. So it's not, or maybe just over a centimeter according to some people. You know, it's between over a half a centimeter and a centimeter, and maybe a little hair more. In other words, quite a small thing. So which would tend to indicate that these things weren't even as big as that, because they were pockets, because they were a little bit less. And yet nonetheless, they had very powerful biting and how do you call it, upsetting power. But that's the reason, says Rashi, that these Khartoumim couldn't control them. Etzba Elikim, what did they mean with that? It's the finger of the Eibishter. So Rashi says, Makazo Eina Alidei Keshofim. Or this Maka is not through Keshofim. It's not through sorcery. Me'esh Hamokimu. This is from the Eibishter. In other words, Rashi says that the Khartoumim woke up to what was happening, and they themselves couldn't bluff themselves anymore. In other words, in the first two Makkahs, they thought that, well, they at least tried to sell it to Pari, that since they were able to do with Keshofim, or with, how do you call it, Shindaleds. Well, the truth of the matter is that there's a difference between Keshofim and Shindaled. But that's a big and complex Indian which I don't want to get involved in here, because it's based on a sugya of the Gemara Masechta Sanhedrin, with a whole big discussion in the Gemara over there. The difference between sorcery, stam, and using demons and other things, two different types of activity. So it's interesting that Rashi says on the one hand Shindaled, then he gets into Keshofim. But here Rashi is just talking in general, I think. The Khartoumim, Pari, they tried to sell to Pari and to the Mitzrayim that these other two big chief Makkahs, the Makkahs Adam and the Makkahs Frogs, but that had been done through Keshofim. Vaharaya, we could also do it. It's a simple, you don't have to take that. Moshe of Aaron could be very skillful, Machashvim, just like we are. Don't bother about it, don't take it to heart. This time they couldn't say that to Pari. They didn't feel that they were able to say that to Pari. At least they were honest, because they saw that they couldn't do it with either Keshofim or Shindaleds. They weren't able to manage it. And therefore they said to Pari, oh, now you have to realize that this time we've got a Isaac with Elikus, Nishmit, how to call it, trickery and sorcery. Now this is Me'esh Hamokimu. This is the Eibishter, how he shailet al kol ha'olam mamish. Yeah, he's the makom, he's the place, and he is the maker of the world. And we got this time we have a Isaac with him. And yet, so they at least, Lefizeh, good days that the Khartoumim, they were at least being, in inverted commas, honest. with themselves, because they realized they couldn't do it, and they didn't want to sell Pari a false ASIC, and they said, listen, this time you're moving into another ball game. You've got to do with a Kodesh Baruch. And the truth of the matter is, if we look carefully, from now on the Chatumim drop out. We don't meet up with the Chatumim anymore. Only one time in the Machash HaShchin, it's not written they tried to do it or anything. It's just written over there in the Hemshech of the Parsha with the boils, the Machav, the boils. They couldn't stand in front of Pari because they're all covered with boils, and it wasn't nice to stand in front of Pari, but even because that's all it's written. Not that they tried anything, but the Chatumim also were covered with boil. So from that come along certain great Meforshim, and they say that the Indian of this market of the bugs and the lice, that blew the Chatum. And from then on the Chatumim drop off the stage. And according to Rashi, at least, they had it called Klapi Shmaya. As far as evidence is concerned, they dropped off in an honourable way, because they at least said the truth. They at least said that this is from the Eivishter, and therefore they literally pass off the stage. So the Fizeh Kunta is that the way Rashi describes it, if we'll say that Livroisom, they tried to create them, that would tend to indicate that there was a tremendous chiddush here and a new move forward. In the Indian of the Makis, that Aaron, a Kohen, was given here power by the Eibishter to create Yesh Mi Ayin, as it were, to bring about Mamish, a new Matthias, which is called Kino. And where did he bring it from? He brought it from the dust of the earth. Pink to see we find in the creation that Hakul Hoya Minher offer, that everything came from the offer, right? We see but Teitze Ha'oretz Tesher, Teitze Ha'oretz Nefesh Chayo, and we see even by the mensch, that the Eibishter created the mensch, offer Minher Adam. In other words, if there's a chelik in the mensch, well, he's also, like it's brought down later, me offer Isu Eibishter Totten V'ela offer Toshu, that you have to go back to the Das. That was only up until the Rebbe began the Mashiach campaign, which was forever. And from then on, Chaim Nitzchi and Beis Hashem, L'kol Ela Sheyizku, take of Miyad Mami. Amen. And if Ela offer Toshu, how we say, hopefully in Beis Hashem, we have to live it with the take of Emes Emunah, that was once upon a time, but not anymore. But anyway, we see that offer is the yesod of the whole creation. And if it would appear, according to Rashi, that the kinom was a union of mine offer, Aaron made with his staff over the offer, and he brought out a whole union of creation, min offer, yesh mi'ayin, didn't it? Didn't it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
And he brought out the sin for yesh mi'ayin mamish min afar ha'oret. And since that was the case, the Chatumim, no matter what they tried, they couldn't manage to. And therefore Rashi said, what were they trying to do? Livreis hom mimakom acher, to create them from another, because the offer was already busy. And Lepel, there wasn't any offer left. It was the whole offer had turned into kinnim. And if they tried to create mimakom acher, and therefore Rashi's medactic to say that they were trying to create livreis of ishmiayin, and that they couldn't do. That they weren't able. It's only that why does he have to come into this whole business of ein shed shindavet shelet alberia pachusa mikeseh me'soiro, because if they couldn't create yesh mi'ayin, then for sure they couldn't be shelet with shindalet of other inyanim. We should do it. And the truth of the matter is that it appears to be two opinions in the Gemara over there in Sanhedrin. And it seems almost like Rashi mixing together two opinions. And it's because if we're going to say that they were worried that he couldn't create him b'klal, then that's a huge power to be a moichi yesh mi'ayin mi'ayafo. If you're going to say that they just couldn't be shoyled with a shindalad on a barrier, then all they were trying to do was like they did with the tzfadim. They were trying to bring him out, that they were already there, and they were trying to bring him up further. Like it's written clearly that they didn't create any frogs. All they did was brought them out and make them go up into Eretz Mitzrayim. Pink as if they were anyway doing. And the same with the dam. But again, to the tzfadim, all they did was they took all the existing frogs and they brought them up into the air, as it were. And that's brought down in the Gemara there in Sanhedrin, that's one of the powers of somebody who's shaylet, Bashin Dalits, that if there's something already there, then he can make it go and make it sort of, how do you call it, appear all over the place, etc., make it cold all its mates and bring as many as you like, etc. Aber mamish libreish yesh mina, and this is an undermans. And why does Rashi say on the one hand that they try to create him, and then he just says that they weren't able to because you can't be shaylet with a shindagat? That's another Indian altogether. And therefore, it's a bit of a shaila in Rashi. Why does he bring the two opinions of the Gemara, kill one after the other, as if they both get together? And look, they don't. If you look at the Gemara, they're two different opinions. So maybe Rashi means a b'derech chidish noisa. In other words, that not only they couldn't create a yesh mi'ayin, but they, I feel, couldn't even do that had they wanted to, like they did by the tzfadim. In other words, that Aaron already got the tzfadim, Aaron and Moshe already got the tzfadim moving. And they also got them moving a bit. And maybe what Rashi means to say was that even just to get them moving a bit more than what, like by the Machasat tzfadim, even that they couldn't do. I feel as if, well, it's totally here, if that's really the Kavanah, right? But anyway, whatever, we can suggest that by the possibility that Rashi is saying they couldn't do anything at all. I feel to take those that Aaron had already produced and make them do more, make them dance in the air, that they couldn't do. They said to Pare, well, this is a divine zah. And so on in the Medrash, a famous opinion of Rabbi Akiva. What Rabbi Akiva said, there was really only one Spardeya, and it multiplied into all these millions of them. And then Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah comes along and he says to Rabbi Akiva, you're tremendously big in halacha, but you shouldn't mix into Haggadah, because he says, I know more about the Haggadah. Leave it up to me. In other words, he states that in the Medrash. It's a very amazing statement on the part of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. But anyway, suffice it to say that he says it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. But there was just, a lot of them, and they already there, and all the Khatumim did was, they made them multiply and dance around in the air more over Ka'etzah. So that's a similar type of opinion. That's a similar type of difference of opinion that these guys, Khatumim, were not mamish able to create a in yesh min ayin. Therefore, Rabbi Elazar didn't like Rabbi Akiva, because if you're going to say that all of them came out of this one thing, then that's very close to yesh mi'ayin. How's one little tzfadeya going to produce millions? That's like a for yesh mi'ayin. It's like a bria kilo legamri shaloi b'derech hateva. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah didn't like that idea, and therefore he said no. All they did with their shindalas was that they multiplied them, made them do all sorts of amazing things. And so therefore, that would fit in somewhat with this in here. Over here, Lapoil, they just weren't able to do anything because it was Pachas Mikisa Oira, and therefore even with the Shindagat, they had no Shlita whatsoever. And therefore they said to Parai, Etzpa Elokim, and Rashi stresses that they were moide that this is Alidei Elokus. And they said this is the Rabbeinu Shalom, this has not anything to do with sorcery. So that's a brief glance at how Rashi learns it. I will come back to that whole summing up of the situation shortly. Comes along the Ebenezer, and the Ebenezer says, what does it mean that they said to Parai, Etzba Elokim hu? What is it for Loshen? Etzba Elokim. Later on we find that they said to, or not to Chatomim, but later on we find that they were warned, the Mitzrayim, and even Parai at the end of the parasha, he says you must pray to the Shem Havaya, Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei. Even though at the end of Pasha Shmois, Parai said he doesn't believe in Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei. He only believes in Shem Elokim. He doesn't believe in Havaya. But nonetheless, we find later on that he realized that the later Makkahs were coming from the Shem Havaya. And here we see that the Loshen of these Chatomim, when they woke up what was going on, well, they said, Etzba Elokim. So it says the Ebenezer, a rather mind-boggling sort of pshat. And he says that what these Chatomim were trying to convince Parai when they saw all these Kinim, and they saw that they weren't able to have any Shlita over them whatsoever, so they said, well, Parai believes in the Eivisha somewhere or another, because he said he believes in the Shem Elokim. And he believes that there's powers outside Egypt, and there's powers outside Parai, and which you might call this like a divine power. You might say that Parai was to use the old philosophic expression, that Parai was an agnostic. In other words, he believed in I don't know if you guys even know what that is. But an agnostic is a man who he says, oh yes, there is a Eibishter, but write him off from the world. The world runs itself, and all sorts of things happen. So therefore these Chatumim said, you know what this is? We can't have any control over it. We don't seem to be able to do anything. But they felt that they really could. They were surprised that they weren't able to do anything. Not like Rashi, that they just gave up. And they said, this is something else altogether. They just said, oh, you know what this is? This is a thing that just happened. In other words, they said that sometimes, even though it might be difficult times, and it might look as if these Ivriim, these Yidden are making troubles with their Eivishter and all sorts of things, although this one counted out and just say that this is, the Rashbam calls it a Makas HaMedina. It was just a thing that happened, how do you call it, a blow to the state of Egypt. It happened, and he suggested occasionally big galaxies of clouds of all sorts of things blow over Egypt, or they blow over other countries, and all sorts of things happen. You get all sorts of troubles from these inyonim. Like we see now, there's been months over here and there's been no rain, not a drop of it. Something is preventing, something is happening here. Oh, we know it's not Chodila a Makas HaMedina, it does a mamish from the Rebishter. However, says the Ebenezer, they wanted to say to Parai, listen here, the fact that we can't do anything, well, that's a sign that this is just a general, how do you call it, weatherman's map or something that came, into the air, and it's just affecting Mitzrayim. Yeah, it's just affecting Mitzrayim. And you don't have to worry about it, And that's what they meant by saying, Etzba Elokim. This is like you believe in the Elokim. This is like a Etzba, he's just playing around. It's not really anything in particular. In other words, just like we say, Mikrohu Shinik. Just happened to happen. And that's why we don't have any control over it. It's in his hands, but it's just a mikro. Now, a thing like that, you might say, we find an amazing thing that was brought down, that the Plishtim, but they should realize that Azor and Ashdod and Ashkelon and all these places, they all belong to what's called Eretz Plishtim. Are you aware with that fact? What's your story over there, man? Don't just read when I'm talking, okay? Don't do it. Believe me, I would like to sit down and just read. I would really like to do it. But I want that you guys should have a geschmack in something. And therefore I come down and break my head for hours, and you sit and read, and you do me a big favor that you even set up. Was for chutzpah do? They said, these Khartoumim, oh, yeah, Eretz Plishtim, yeah. So the whole of Azor, Ashkelon, Ashdod, and that's all an area in Eretz Yisrael which belonged to Shevet Shimon, and maybe part of it to Shevet Yehuda. And it's in the same general district as Jerusalem, oddly enough. Yeah. And, because Yehuda belongs to Jerusalem, or Jerusalem belongs to Yehuda. And it's written a most amazing thing. I'm telling you, it's just so mind-boggling that people don't have what's going on. But it's written at the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, it's written that Yeshua and the Yidden didn't finish the whole job. They didn't conquer all the Goyim and Eretz. So there was a whole lot of the Canaanite that they didn't conquer, and the whole of Eretz Plishtim they didn't conquer. They stayed, and therefore the Avish said, oh, you guys don't want to do what I said? Alright, those things will remain there, and there'll be an Isoyan to you for all the generations to come. Yeah. There'll be an Isoyan to you for all the generations to come. Comes again Rashi over there, and the Radak, and they say, wait a minute, it's written in the chapter before, that's in chapter base. And in chapter Aleph, it's written that the Bnei Yehuda went and they conquered Azor, Ashkelon, Ashdod. They conquered them. He said, ever says the Radak, how can you possibly say that? That he left Eretz Plishtim, Ashdod, Azor, Ashdod, Ashkelon as an Nisoyan for all the generations to come. It's written a few chapters, a little parshas before that Yehuda conquered them. So the Radak appealed the command. He said, oh yes, they conquered them. He said, oh, but those Plishtim are wilde terroristen, wilde mishgoyim. And they didn't take it laying down. Yehuda thought he'd done a big job. He went down and he made a whole big swish with his sword, and he moved in and out, and he conquered them and this and that. And then when he quietened down a little bit, they got themselves up together, and they took their own area over again, and it remained in their hands for all the generations to come, because Yehuda couldn't be bothered going back again to conquer them again. And there was written in the Pesukim that Azor, Ashdod, Ashkelon, V'kol HaSvivis, Hu l'nisoyen l'bnei Yisrael l'chol teroso. It's a trial and a tzorah for the Yidden, for all the generations to come. Because the Bnei Yehuda, according to the Radak, there must be some terror. I mean, it's written that they conquered them, and said, no, they remained over as a Nisoyan, and they're written the first. They are the biggest Nisoyan. The Canaan is small fry compared to that. And one of the rayas that we see later on, that all the charters are given from the Plishtim. And Shimshon HaGibber, fought them and broke them and slugged them, and in the end, Rachman in Itzlan, they got their hands on Shimshon HaGibber. And it was only in the end that Shimshon HaGibber said, Tomus Nafshi in Plishtim. Never, he was already Tzabrochen, and he devised when they come to Mars, and he said, at least I'm going to die together with my own enemies, and he pushed the whole building down, and it's written that more Plishtim died in that than he'd killed off in the whole war that he had with him. About Chaponim, we see that it was tzoras, truths all the time. So who got hold of the Arim when they took the Arim out to war? You know the story, but they took the Arim out to war. Who got hold of it? The Plishtim. Azor. Ashdod. The terrorists from Azor, von Plishtim, von Ashdod, and von Ashkelon, they got hold of the Oren Bris Hashem. And all of a sudden, the Eibishter gemacht, that they started having big turrets. The Eibishter blew them up right and left, without missiles, without phantoms and all the other masses, because they were holding the Oren Bris Hashem. All of a sudden, the Plishtim Alain of gemacht the Cheshbon, and they said, hey, wait a minute, what's going on around here? What's all these terrible tzaris that are hitting us? Oh, it's probably because yeah, we got the Oren, the Oren Bris Hashem at the Yidden. So let's send it back. So they got they took an agalam, they put all sorts of nice gold things on it, and they sent it, and they took these cows to draw it, and they showed the cows where to go, and they said gate it. And they said like this to Plishtim. They said, if the cows will take it the right place, and it will go up in the right direction, then it's simmer, we were right. It's a simmer, we were right, that all of our tzaras came from the fact that we held that on, because it's a sign that it's a divine thing. Or if not, if something will happen and it doesn't get into the right place, and the cows will just wander off someplace, or that'll be a sign, shenikra lanu. It'll just be something that happened to us. Nikra lanu. It'll just be something that happened. Don't have to worry. We need to take it back. Either chariots, mikra, just happen. These sort of things happen. We see from that the Taina, that Nikra, Nikra, it's just a from something that just happened to it. This is the Taina from Plishtim. And it's brought down in the Gemara, Masechta Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says in Masechta Avodah Zarah, an amazing thing. The Gemara says, it's written about Avraham Avinu, that he lived in Eretz Plishtim for a long time. Vayogor Avraham be'Eretz Plishtim Yamim Rabim. Sagt die Gemara, why isn't it written? It's written in another pasuk, Vayeshev Avraham be'Be'er Shava. He said at the end of the Haked every day in davening. Vayeshev Avraham be'Be'er Shava. And he also lived in Be'er Shava a lot, Avraham. And here it's written that in Eretz Plishtim, Vayogor Avraham be'Eretz Plishtim. Sagt die Gemara, was it the chilik? That Vayeshev means that you sit there and you sit there and you live there and you settle in and you become part of Vayeshev. He said, Vayogor is from Russian Geirus. That you're just like a stranger there. You're there, but you're a Geir. You're not really you're not really an Ezrach. You're not one of the listed citizens of the place. You just happen to be there somewhat against your will and somewhat against your natural inclination. So I said to Gemara, how do we know that? From Anna Weissman does. Well, how can we be sure that Avraham Avinu? So Gemara Favus, because the Plishtim are leitzonim, the Midah Haro and the Midah HaPnimiyat from the Plishtim is that they're leitzonim. And they got their clown talkers, and they got their jokers, smart alecks, all this type of thing. That's their problem, and therefore Avraham Avinu wouldn't dare dwell with such people. All he could do maximum was by Yogor. He would just be there, but he wouldn't be together with them. The Gemara, how do I know for sure that the Plishtim were late on him? Brings a terrible thing. Just pick what we spoke about. That when they had Shimshon in their hands, they brought him out to play with him in front of everybody. One in the club. Oh, you see a dog is there. Well, that's a sign of the most ultimate leitzonas, but murder and blood-curdling leitzonas, and that can't possibly be. So we see that the Plishtim, how they called blood-curdling leitzonim. They're really bad scholar. And in Pasha B'Shalach, in Torah, the Alter Rebbe is masbid the whole meaning for Klippas Plishtim. The whole meaning for Klippas Plishtim. And he said you can fall into Klippas Plishtim if you're too open. No, yes, I'm very open. I'm open to any ideas, and I'm fine, and I'm this and I'm that. Oh, no, you're not. You got to be a Kabbalah Selnik. As I said to you, you got to be Kabbalah Selnik, and you got to have Harikut. What are those things that they have on horses? You don't look everywhere, and you don't know everything in the basis from Gornish. You don't know what's going on. In that case, you're a mishken. You don't know anything, you don't know what's going on. No, says the Alter Rebbe, then you have Emes Simcha. He said, then you're the happiest person in the world. In other words, the less you know from what's going on and all the baloney, the better you are. Don't worry about it. Don't shed any tears. Wide-eyed, know everything that's going on, all the crazy radios, and all the Talmudic newspapers, and all the Avois Hatumah from the television, the El Masses, Hashem Yerachim, Kol Min HaAnushi, Lo Rachafidin. And they don't have to be worried. The Alter Rebbe says, if you're a Kabbalah Selnik, and you have your code, the Alter Rebbe says, you can then come to Emes Simcha, the Kiyum HaTorah VaMitzvahs of a cloud. And the Hebrew from them is the Plishtim. And that's exactly what I'm not supposed to talk about these things. What can I do? Something about car. This comes out. That's exactly what happened just now, right under your very nose. Exactly what the Radak writes over there, what Rashi also hints at it. The Radak is a Rishon. And they tell us that in Emerson Yehuda did conquer at one time the Azor and Ashkelon B'Shabbat. But he was sort of too good. He sort of let him be, I can't be bothered, let him have it. And they got it. And after that it was Soros, Trus, Alcohol, Sorim Kulo. And every now and then we find he gave him a clap and invited them back. And that's exactly what happened just now, right under your very nose. That instead of going in and finishing off with them, and taking it back and making it Eretz Yisrael, because it is Eretz Yisrael. It belongs to Shevet Shimon, and part belongs to Shevet Yehuda. It's Eretz Yisrael, but it's also Eretz Plishtim. So either the Breder is Lefaneinu, either it's Eretz Yisrael or it's Eretz Plishtim. And if it's Eretz Plishtim, Nisoyen L'Deir it's Tzoret. It's got to be Eretz Yisrael. How's it going to be Eretz Yisrael? If Yidden will go in there, push their necks into the mud, stand on their necks, and they'll be happy. That's the way an Arabah is. That's the way when he's got a good kosher foot on his crazy neck, he's a good person. No, you let him have a say about anything, he'll end up murdering the whole world. And that's what he does. These Meshuggah Al-Qaedas with the other thing grew out of Arafat Yamash. And who makes Arafat? Peretz. Die Juden haben gemacht Arafat. One minute lang. Aber that's just the whole, that's a glance. What if you say Mikro, Shenikra, these things just happen, that's the Plishtim, and that's the source of all the Torah. Those are the Plishtim, that's what they said when they sent the Aaron back. The Ebenezer said that the Khartoumim tried to persuade Pari, Mikra, it just happened, Hey, look, Hanami, from the Abish, he's a big Abish, he doesn't worry about all these type of things that are going on. You also hold that, don't you? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, that's exactly what it was. Why can't we do anything? Because it's not our business to say Abish that he runs the whole thing some way or another. He just sort of made a geschäft. Never wish you built it from us. What do you want from us? And they do it. Right or wrong. That's what they said to Pari. So that comes along the Ebenezer and he says, you need some sort of riot that's what happened. So he says an amazing thing. He says, if you look carefully at this Makor, Moshe Rabbeinu never warned Pari that it was going to happen. It just happened. It's just written. Vayom Hashem el Moshe. By the Dam and by the Tzvadim, Moshe gave a whole big long warning to Pari, what we call Hasra'ah. Yeah? He gave him a whole big asrua, and he said, listen here, this is going to happen if you don't send away the Yidden. And the taka did happen, and he came to him and said, no, what would you like me to do now? And he said, oh, please pray it, get rid of it. A whole big, huge dialogue and sub-dialogue with Para. Here, Gornish, with the mo, boom, by here, my mind, with the mo, 6 feet tall, kinim, what to do. And even though Rashi doesn't learn that way, but there's certain of the Rishonim that say, Taka, why couldn't they do anything? Because they couldn't get to anything. They were standing up on all these kinim, and Emor's a sorcerer, as they have a mock in a medrash for it. And Emor's a sorcerer. If he wants to do something, he's got to have his feet on the ground. He must have his feet al karka oilam. If he doesn't have his feet al karka oilam, he can't do anything. And they were standing on top of all these kinim, and they were helpless. They couldn't do it. They stayed in a medrash. Well, just that Hagav, it's a pillar because that the Balaturim brings here, it just shows you that ultimately speaking, all you have to do is be patient and let the Eibush run the world. He says, why did the Mitzrim cover in such a way with the kinim, with these bugs? And he said, this is really what broke them. Sof, after this, they were nothing. But the Khartoumim were gone, and Pari, he had been told that this was already divine according to Rashi. It's already divine. And Amir says that the Baal, I told him, he said, because the Mitzrayim wanted the Yidden to be their slaves, that they wouldn't let them wash in the public bathing place. In those days, not everybody had showers, and they come to do it, and all sorts of posh bathrooms, with, with water and cold water and middle water and sort of soap coming out of the walls and all sorts of masses. But in those days, if you wanted to have a proper bath, you had to go into a public place where there was water. I mean, even in England, you still got now, they got these public baths. So it's written that they made a gezerah that didn't want able to come into the public baths and didn't want able to wash themselves. Therefore, the Yidden had these terrible lice, that their mum was creeping with flies. And therefore, the Eibush smoked the Mitzrayim in such a way that they got lice that really ate them to pieces. And the Yidden's lice all of a sudden stopped being active, as we pointed out before, according to that particular medrash. In other words, the Yidden still had all their lives, but they were perfectly okay with them. And their lives got on well together. But the ones with the Mitzri made them to pieces. And so the Balaturim says that that's a case of midah keneged midah. You have to realize that if you study carefully human history, then you'll see that midah keneged midah is a very powerful method of the Eibush's running of the world and of history of man. And take careful notice of it and you'll see it. And therefore I ain't kind of look lahari, but that's just a parenthetical remark. So we come back into the Ebenezer. So therefore the Ebenezer backs up his case with the fact that nobody warned Pari. And therefore, and Moshe never said anything needed to Aaron. All of a sudden it just happened. So the Khartoumim used that as a very, very good trick. And I said, well, you see, he never warned us. He didn't. It's not from him. When he's going to do something to us, then he talks to us about it. This just happened. It's mikra ushanik. Amazing. Pink just over the Meshugana Plishtim, Yamachshama. Das over that. Mikra ushanik. Oh, my, Gupta is Lafisa, Hadi Kodims. Pare was under a very powerful, persuasive answer from the Khartoumim. Why should he worry? This is one of these things that happens, every now and then. There's a sort of change in the weather map or something really weird happened, and all these kidim got let loose somehow or another. They fell from some sort of meteor or something. Al-Tidak. And therefore, Pare said, here we see in this, according to the Ebenezer, here we see in this macro Emor's expression of the shitta of Goyim neged Emor's eloquence. In other words, it's brought down in Siddur that Goyim have a chush in Shem Elokim, or Mamish in Shem Havaya, they don't have a chush. And then Pari was a big, no. He was the ruler of the whole country, he was the ruler of the whole world, in certain ways. And he said, Lo Yodai Ties Havaya. I don't know about the Havaya. Elokim, yeah. Well, as long as he does it my way. And then I'm for it. Of Hashem Havaya, you'd cave off caves. I'm a is that ultimately speaking, a goy doesn't and is unable to really appreciate the fact that there is a seder of teva, the way the world runs and the way it functions, and that even hidden in that teva there's also midikin, like I said, you can even see it in the teva oil of midikin of a chutz, that there should be a inyan which is mamish gamri l'maylim teva, but and you can't know from one moment to the next what is going to happen. But ad k'nei kach this brought down in the Zohar Kodesh, so Rav Hamanei Nesabo, first of all, used to put his food on the table. He used to get the whole Suda on the table. Rapi said about Rav Hamanei Nesabo, he was unbelievable tzaddik. Is and he used to have all the food on the table, and according to the Magen Avraham and Shulchan Aruch, there's an opinion that even after he washed his hands, even when he'd washed his hands, he used to say a prayer to the Eibishter that he should give him to eat. It's all on the table, and he washed his hands. So I stated in Tziddish Sfarim that why did he do that? Because you can never tell from one moment to the you can never tell from one moment to the next. You put it on the table, very fine. This is mitzad ha'machadeish b'tuvei b'chol yom tomi pirush ad mohazoke. Yeah, kol rega v'rega. Yeah, ma'aseh v'reishis that every second it's yesh mina ayin mamish l'mayla me'ateva, like he says over the altar of it, l'mayla me'ateva, every second. And comes again the Hadikonims, the Chacham Tzvi, one of the early great, he was the Alter Zayda from the Chaim, from the Chaim Mitzvah. It's the Chacham Tzvi said that there's really no such teva, there's no such thing as teva, ain't teva. It's just a name for lack of proper description as to what is really happening. People say teva. You're having real Messiah's never. Are you okay? Are you not? That's how Messiah's never. It's written that Hillel Azokin used to go up onto the roof of the base of Medrash in the snow. And one day they brought him down, he was a frozen piece of Hillel Azokin. He went up because he didn't want to miss the shear. This girl, he crept up and there was snow for him. Otherwise we should have something. Not, snow would be good because it melts into water. At least we'd have some water if we had snow. Come to us, he said, that every second, Rav Hamanei knew that every second is not a riot to the previous second. Because everything is yesh min alayin l'mayla l'gamri mikol in. Forget it. There's no teva. Ain't teva. Yud kei vav kei. There's no teva. Lefi said he didn't know that when he finished washing his hands, it mightn't be there. Designed it. The Eivish mightn't want it anymore. Who says that the Eivish going to want it the next minute? You have to have rachamim every second. The Eivish will want you to be there. Maybe you'll just all of a sudden decide that you're going to be iron and not yet. The same with all the food. And if he used to pray to the Eivish as I gave him the Suda, even after he washed his hands. Therefore, there's some Yidden, other Yom Hazeh, that after they wash, before they eat the Suda, they say, Mizmor David Hashem Roi Loi Etzor. They say, Kapitel Kof Gimel, 23, after they wash their hands, before they make a moitzi. Yo.
That's why some people they say Bereshus. That's why some people they say Bereshus before they make a
Bereshus, that's underman. That's got nothing to do with it. That's underman. Bereshus and underman. If I may come to it, that they mamish pray to the Eibishter and he shouldn't let me lack. Yeah, before they actually make the mitzvah. Have you already washed your hands? Yesh mi'ayin. The world is every second. There's no teva. Every split moment is l'mayla l'gamri me'ateva. What does a goy weiß nicht von dem? What do I do? He might have heard that somebody said it, but he, and I mean, the whole union of SHK Prati is based on that. Because if we're going to say that the world is not Yesh Mi'ayin, that every second Hashem's hand is there recreating it, then who says he looks after everything? Maybe he started the whole world off, he put a certain koyach into it, can run for X number of thousands of years, and every now and then, move the chessboard a bit there. You take a look what's going on down there, But if we say that every second is mamish him, and without him there's absolutely no Metzias, then come to that every second the whole existence is only Hashem. And therefore, what happens every second is him. And therefore, that's SHK Prati. And if you believe in that, you can't possibly say Mikra Ishanikra. You can't possibly say that. At the far, the Heilige Ruzhina, what's the kesher between the Lubavitch and Ruzhin, the Heilige Ruzhina, he said that you're not allowed to say it happened like that. Even just ordinary conversation. You're not allowed to say Azoi is Geshen. In Yiddish, that's how it happened. You're not allowed to say that. Any expression of that nature is forbidden for you to say it happened. You're not allowed to say it. Because there's no such thing. Every second is him. It didn't just happen. Every second is him. And he comes to us that the Eben Ezra built here an amazing case that the Khartoumim, they were trying to talk Pari into his old Goyish habit and just stay the way you are. These things happen. There's Einach, Elokim, he created things and that. Every now and then he might move to, that sort of a thing on the chessboard. The whole thing just runs, it just happened in the Medina. Don't make a whole thing out of it. And that's why he didn't warn you about it, because it's got nothing to do with them. Not really got anything much to do with him either. One of the facts of life. And unfortunately, Paro bought it. He said he bought it. He bought it. Oh, but why is it written, Vayema Hashem El Moshe? Oh, the Yidden didn't buy that. The Yidden didn't buy that. The Yidden knew that that's definitely not the case. And the truth of the matter is that Paro should also not have bought it. But had he not had the Khartoumim, then he might have bought it. But since they spoke him into it, and they were the ones that drove him into that whole thing, at a far, that was part of the problem, wasn't it? Huh? You seem to be attracting yourself a whole audience over there. So you have to be careful that you shouldn't have a very doubtful schus of causing other people bittul Torah. Edify. The Rashi and the Eben Ezra look at the whole thing differently. The Rashi says no, that the Khartoumim were honest guys at least, and they saw that this whole thing was mamish yesh mi'ayin. Oh, yesh mi'ayin libreisom mimokim acher. Yesh mi'ayin. Oh, him yesh mi'ayin. That's SHK Prati. There's the Eivish to the Yud Kei Vav Kei that's running the whole show. And if say we have to move out here, we can't do anything anymore, and therefore after that there's no Khartoumim. The only Khartoumim that are mentioned anywhere after that is that they got a problem with the kinnim, the boils. The boils hit everybody so bad that even the big courtiers and everything also got special mention. But not because they were doing anything anymore. They weren't saying anything more to Paro. Is a sign that once you get into Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you know that everything is really from the Eivish, Yesh Mi'ayin, Libreisom, says Rashi, Mimokim Acher, then you have a whole different appreciation of existence. You have a whole different life, a whole different Indian, and you can't, under any circumstances, be persuaded about anything. You just know that the world is ein oid milvad. And therefore the Gemara says, in Masechet Sanhedrin, that the Emer's answer to Chashbim and to all those inyanim is ein oid milvad. That the whole business of sorcery with the other inyanim is based on the fact that there is epis of Matthias, and therefore we can play with them. But if we say that there's no Matthias and it's only him, ein oid milvad, then there's no Makashvim and there's no Shindagans, even though the Shindagans exist, but they have no power. They're only what the Eivishter wanted. Comes along the Ramban, and the Ramban adds to this whole Indian, and he develops on the whole theme, and so does the Rabbeinu Bechaya. What he's found on in many cases, he goes according to the shit of the Ramban. He wasn't Mamish Talmud from the Ramban, but he was Mekabo, mi Talmido. And the Far says the Ramban, but the whole issue here in this whole Machas Akinim is that either it's a world the way the Mitzrayim understand, or it's a world which is purely under the control of the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's either or. And so therefore says the Ramban that even in the case of the Tzfardiyim, with all the wondrous things we learn out from the Tzfardiyim, as it's brought down in the Gemara, and there's a whole big thing that they went also on Mesiras Nefesh, the frogs, the whole thing, they went into the hot ovens, and that's a Mesiras. The Rebbe's got a whole amazing sikha about it. But the whole thing, that they, they went mamsham and said, but it doesn't come to this Mako, because this Mako was the etzem koyach of the Eibishter, lahoichi yesh mino ayin, in order to teach the world, one way or the other, and that was Pari's chance, and unfortunately he missed the chance, and therefore, the mistakes that were made by the Khartoumim, according to the Ramban, he disagrees with the Ebenezer, and he says that wasn't exactly what happened. That they tried to bluff Pari back. He said, on the contrary, they tried to tell Pari the evidence. In other words, that the Ramban backs the Khartoumim of Israel at this point. And he said that they were trying to be honest, and they were trying to put things right. And it was Pari who insisted on not listening to them. But they tried to put things right. They had it. It's just an interesting prat. If that's the case, then we never gave any hashra here. We never warned them. Moshe never said to Pari, this is going to happen. So the Ramban and the Rabbeinu Bechaya bring an interesting thing. They said there were 10 makkahs. And on Pesach, to Seder, we say that they got a Rosh Hashanah, Datzach, Adash Ba'achav. Right? You ever seen that? So Datzach, Adash Bi'ach is 9. And then the base at the end, that's the Machas so it makes it the 10. So they say, if you look at every third Makor, then you'll see that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give any warning to Pari. What are each of the third Machas? This is the third one, is, how do you call it? Chinim, which are Chof. There was no there. And the next one was Adash, but that was a Shchin. Also there was no warning there. And the last one is Choshech. Also, there was no warning by the Choshech. So they say that each 3 times round, Moshe didn't give any warning, or there was no asra given to Pari. And they want to say, they say a very amazing thing. And they say that if you get warned twice, then the third time if you do it again, you get punished, but you don't get warned. And they bring down a Mishnah in Masechet Sanhedrin. They say that, let's say somebody did a really serious avera, a very unfortunate avera, what he would really be chayiv kodesh for that. In other words, he's really, he's signing his own. He's been over to, but the people who saw him did it, they warned him, they said, if you do that, you'll get Malchus. So he has to get Malchus. So he gets Malchus, and then a few days later they find him doing the same thing exactly again. Even though he's been warned and everything, he's doing the same thing again. So you can't give him Malchus. Oh, you can, because he was warned. Well, the third time if he does it, don't need any warning, we just take him and we put him into a sort of tower, and we just let him rot away. We just let him. In other words, since that's a Indian, anyway he had to die. It's Indian from Koresh. And the Gemara says Koresh is anyway going to die, and we have the right, literally, to speed up his death, because the Abish is anyway going to do it one way or another soon. As we stated in the Gemara, fairly clear. So therefore, the Ramban says that since Pari was, he was cutting the floor out from under his own feet. All these Idori were Koresh. I mean, the Mitzvah were going down the drain. Remember, at the end of 2, and this is already the 3rd, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't need to warn him, Beklav. Didn't have to warn him what's going on at all. And the Rebbe was very wise, and another 3 and another 3, he should just go down the drain, and that's So they answer an interesting teretz, and they say that to a certain extent that should be the case. But they say that we see that each of these 3, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, he divides them into 3, like a Datzach, Adash, Be'achav. He could have said Datzach, no, 3, like 3 sections. Datzach, Adash, Be'achav. He said because each 3 of them has got completely different rules. In other words, that the Abish was coming to Pari from all possible sides and all possible ways to bring down the whole klippa of Pari. Now you might say, well, he's just a goy, ordinary klippa. Oh no, he's not. It's brought down in the Zohar. He said Pari was a tremendous klippa, that he had this unbelievable swing over the whole world. Unbelievable. And the fact it's brought down in the Zohar, that when Pasha Boy, next week's Pasha, when Moshe says to him, when the Abish says to him, we're going to Pari, and he said, Boy, O Pari, come with me to Pari. So the Zohar says, why did the Abish have to say that? Just tell Moshe Rabbeinu to go. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, oh, to Pari, even I'm scared. Even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to go to Pari on his own. And I come together and said, why? So Tziddah said, because he was the taker of all the klippers. He was just makif shebemakif from the klippers. And all enveloping power over the whole world. And even Moshe Rabbeinu, who's Kedusha, Moshe Rabbeinu said, wait a minute, that's massive. So therefore they said, boy, come with me, I'll go with you. In other words, when the Abish went together with him, then it worked. As they stated in the Zohar. They said Pari is the most unbelievable koyach. And people tend to be bottled and they tend to rely on him, and then they make all sorts of, tirutzim and all sorts of masses. Of it, sof it all goes back to a zamitzot, almost unwitting bittul to the klippa of Pari. And says the Ramban and another great Rishi called the Mefaneach Rosa, he says that therefore there had to be 3 sets of each time Pari lost out completely. He didn't need to be warned the 3rd time because he was had it, but he was so immense that it had to happen from all sorts of different angles. 3 times over that he was right off completely. An amazing terms. In other words, there are certain koyches that they're so immense, that the only thing is you have to sort of write them off from all possible sides and bring them down. So I'm not going to go suggesting who is Pari now. But there's a big new one just appeared on the scene. A big new one came up on the screen just the last few days. So the whole world is going mad, and I was saying, oh, big new Pari, now it's going to be good. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be schlecht. Oh no, it's going to be good. Oh yes. And so all these goylems and these absolute war criminals, all of them over here saying, oh yes, he'll look after us, oh yes, we have to be good with him. Pari. And what's happening is that there's a Yid over there, I mentioned him today, a Yid, they put him over there, Pollard. The Rush, oh, I don't want to mention their name, that they're going to do it, but they put him into the whole thing, and once he got caught by the Americans, they just let him sit for almost 25 years in a jail, and they refused to do anything about it. And I heard from certain places that it could be, when Bush went out, when an American president signs himself off, he has the right to give people, as a farewell gift, he can give people what's called, how do you call it? Pardons. Yeah, he can write people off, And they wanted to get that for him. And the Americans were it, and these guys over here, they don't want it. If I was, because they're scared of Pari. There's a big deal, Pari. These are schwarze Heuchert, who knows, maybe he's mad or something. We've got to be good with him. We've got to be good. We've got to creep on our knees to him. Not only that, there's a scam to Pari. There's an assistant Pari, and that's called Europe. Europe. Oh, the Europeans are big. Oh, they're terrible. The Europeans are very good. So they have to stop, and they have to let Eretz Plishtim take over again and continue being in the soil of Bnei Yisrael at Deroisa. When they had them on their hands, all they had to do was another few days and they would have stopped the whole Eretz Plishtim. And they could have taken it all over again. Pink the Bnei Yehuda should have done, and they didn't. And exactly what they've done again. Exactly the same thing. And therefore we're back to where we started. We got the Eretz Plishtim with the whole pomp and splendor of Rahman in Islam, what the Plishtim really represent. That's how we wish, because with Mahatma from Pari, we're scared of Pari. Oh, maybe the crazy Schwarzer, he's not going to be pleased. Oh, it's just so terrible. If he would just prune in one little nostril of his nose, oh, that would be just so terrible. That would be unthinkable. And the truth of the matter is that he will send you the same sugar and phantoms, and he give you all the millions and everything, because he needs you a lot more than what you need. Yeah, the same with the crazy Pari. He needed all the states and all the people that he had. He was a little goyish, the truth of the matter is stated in the Gemara. But everybody was fakisha. Pari. That's what we're facing here. Even though Pari knew that he was a writer, and his own Khatumim, according to Rashi and the Ramban, his own Khatumim told him that you're a writer. This is the Eivishter. And later on they told him clearly, they said, listen man, you're going to ruin yourself and the whole Mitzrayim. Stop. The Khatumim were honest guys, the Holopakas. Yeah. And it's a thing that doesn't make any sense. The Pari didn't want to take the warning. And the Eivishter had some amazing plan. Bezicha that we have to believe Be'emunah Shleima, that the Eivishter has a plan and he's going to take us out of all this, take it from Yad Mami. Of upon him, we see how history repeats itself in this unbelievable and sinister and most terrible form. And even worse, according to the Ebenezer, the Khatumim tried to sell the Goysha world, it's all square. It's all, there's an Avish being done, he does, oh yes, he does. And there's other powers in the world, the Avish, there's other powers. You want to say, the Goyim nowadays don't hold that. Oh yes, they do. It's written in Chassidus that they do. Chassidus says that the Goyim hold ad soif kol hadayos, that there's other powers. I don't want to mention the name of the other big religion that happens to hang around in the Western world, and that's exactly what they say. Lahavdil, $1 billion. He said that this Makas HaKinim is the breaking point of the whole Klippa of Pari, the whole Klippa of Zer HaElam, and the whole answer to Mikra, Nikra, and to all those inyanim, and it's the inyan of Ein Oid Milvadi. It's hidden in this amazing little thing called Machas Hakinim. That's what state of. And the world could have won everything. It could have saved everybody and been much of the whole world from a lot of tzoras, and people just don't have. And we don't realize even we learn in Shara Yichud V'Emunah Ein Oid Milvadi that every second is the Eibush, and do we really hold by it? Hayim Anaknu Be'emes Ochazim Kach. And it's not that the Rebbe said that you have to believe that Moshiach is coming. It's one of the Yud base. You give SHK Emor according to the Rambam. I mean, if you don't believe that he's coming, then who knows where you are? That's not what the Rebbe said. And the Rebbe didn't say you should hold that Moshiach has to come because the matzav is so terrible. The Rebbe didn't say that either. And the Rebbe didn't say you have to have Moshiach because otherwise what's going to be with you and your family and the bank account and the replacement work. Also, the Rebbe said you have to live that Moshiach is already here, and the avoid is Kabbalah's Pnei Moshiach Titkein. Kabbalah. You just have to take it in. It's there. Just receive him. Take him into your life and receive him. That means that you're going to live the Indian day and night. And that's what the Rebbe said, that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you're going to hack into your mind is Moshiach. And Tovi Aleim Bracha, for those Mishkistim, what they say, Yechi Adinenu, first thing when they wake up, I feel if I'm way down. But because the Rebbe said, even before you say Moed Ani, you've got to remember about Moshiach. Well, Salfiza come to us that it's not the Pshat. It's like the old quip that a person can say, oh, what a terrible thing. Oh, God, there's 100 shekels, like 200 shekels. What a miskin I am. I only live in this town. I don't live in Savion or something. Then they tell me. Or you can say, oh, I got 100 shekels. What can you do? What you can do with 100 shekels? You can give 10 shekels mass, and you can do this, and you can do that. You can buy an ice cream cake. What you can do. You can clean the windscreen of your car. So I have to play something for us. Polish your shoes or something. You can do. Look what you can do with 100 shekels. Not much more nowadays. But anyway, that's what you can do. You're rich. You don't say, well, I can't. What a shame! I got 100 shekels or so. Miskin. No. I mean, the same thing. It's not the pshat. I have to have Moshiach. Oh, she must give us Moshiach. We're going down, and we're all dead. They're going down the bubbles and everything. No, it's just Yechia Melech Moshiach. He's here. Just be Makabelim. Live with it. Know that is the only material. That's the Rebbe. And that's only just the beginning of the Rebbe. That's only the beginning. Who knows? There's thousands of other dimensions in the whole Indian. That's what we've got to do. And not slip into the... They might say, right, so you see every second that it's like that. And this whole Indian from the Kinnim, it's like one of the markets, just there, it's mentioned here and there. But look, when you study it carefully, look what you see, what's hidden in the whole thing. And Ad Kerikat, that nobody quite, and the Rebbe writes about those Rashis, like, well, the Rashi said, sorry, union needs further attention. The Yesh Laharik was it. The Rebbe said, I don't know, maybe he did at another point, but not in that secret. Well, it comes out, he said, it's an amazing profundity, and it just seems to be there. And that's the whole shit of the Goyim. It's the whole shit of the Ebenezer puts it very amazing, the ganze shit from the Goyim, and the whole union from Yesh Miyayin, Ashkacha Prati, is at every second, is this is the Machas Hakinim. And that's the whole union that the whole people say, what in the little Machas for? Because the world is so obstinately meshuggah. You've got to keep hammering away until you get so the aim is to want it that everything should be come through the Matthias, so the Eilam should be Moloch Oretz Deya Es Hashem. Everything has to come through the Matthias of Eilam. Therefore we have to go step by step, which is the Matthias of the Eilam, and prove to the world that Ein Oid No Vade Mami. And how does that come? That comes through Moshe Rabbeinu. That is the Rebbe in every generation. And in our generation, it's the Rebbe Melech Emor, Mashiach, not a stam. But this is like the Rebbe says, the Tzemach Tzedek, at the end of the mitzvah Minui Melech, that Mashiach is koilin in himself. Both. The inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's also koilin the inyan from David HaMelech, the inyan from Shevet Yehuda. And Moshe Rabbeinu was the unbelievable instructions and the unbelievable Torah and the unbelievable light that Moshe Rabbeinu throws into everything. And the inyan from Shevet Yehuda is, Yehuda means Moedi, you've got to be an Evet to Melech Mashiach. And the Rebbe says that even the Talmidei Chachamim are going to have to accept Mashiach by way of servants, avodim, even though they'll be mefalpel in all the Seder. Mashiach will teach when it comes to Pur, they've got to act in front of Mashiach like avodim. As he said, look it up in the Derech Mitzvah, as they state that. Derech Mitzvah. Here's a simon that we bask in all the unbelievable direction that the Rebbe gave us and all the unbelievable Torah that he taught us. But we've got to be like a body. We've got to just say, okay, Rebbe, that's what you said. Here we go. On Bli Kunze. You know, the Rebbe said, Moshiach is Moshiach. The Rebbe said, live in Moshiach, live in Moshiach. The Rebbe said, Kabbalah's Pnei Moshiach, Kabbalah's Pnei Moshiach. That's it. And that's what the Rebbe said. You haven't sorted it out yet. You haven't quite worked it out in yourself yet. What other people have to suffer because you haven't worked it out yet. That's what the Rebbe said. In other words, shrey the people, Kabbalah's Pnei Moshiach, even though you yourself might be dragging your shoes. Nonetheless, if you say it, the Eibush will tell them, and it'll be Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Poel Mamish. Mameh will go running out into the Midbar Ha'ami with Melech HaMashiach. According to one opinion, will eat man at the beginning. Another thing at the time, Kimei Tzeischel Me'eretz Mitzrayim, but it will be Areno Niflois. It will be unbelievable miracles, even like what was in Mitzrayim. Okay, guys. So just 1 second. That is at Shabbos end, Lashon Pnimiyos, and that we hope. I mean, we got a sick list as long as our arm. All these guys that they're all, Hashem should give them a refuah shlema. That they're all, dragging around in the dorms, not feeling well with the whole thing. So we have to hope that they'll all feel better and they'll all come Shabbos in the morning and say Tehillim. The world over here says that if you drop the hay out of Tillim, then you get Tillim. Tillim means missiles. And Tehillim, that's the Jewish missile. The Jewish missile is Tehillim with a hay. And hay is the Shem Havaya. Everybody will come Shabbos morning and will say Tehillim, and with that we'll mevatel all the Tehillim, and Be'ez Hashem will be all together with the Rebbe, take you from the yard. Amen.